Okay, welcome. I call this meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. on October 11th, 2023. Roll is taken by means of sign-in sheet, so please make sure you're signed in even if you're an alternate. We have several alternates today, so they include Dorota Hennigan for Carmela Matza, Yang Hwan Lee for Marcia Newcomer, Vanessa Ulik for Kyla Kazacek, Rahul Shah for Gerald Baumgartner, Charles Delzell for Scott Boldrich, Lauren Griffin for Jeffrey Rowland, and Yuan Heng Chang for Mayank Tyagi. Are there any alternates that who are present whom I haven't called? Yeah. And what's your name? Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
And John Snow for African American Studies, whose I understand his representation is not exactly clear at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Yes. Oh.
From the business of policy business Department of Public Administration for Roy Heidelberg.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Param,
Can you please just repeat the name again?
Minsu for Roy Heidelberg.
Got it. Yes, and Robert.
Robert for
Okay. Great. Good to see you, Robert. It's like deja vu. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Great. We have one guest today. It's Calvin Feldt from Student Government, who will be making an informational presentation at the end of our meeting. There are no public comments registered today. And do we have a quorum, Ms. Secretary? Yeah, it's okay, great. So the consideration of the next item is consideration of minutes from our September 19th meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Mm-hmm. Any corrections or further discussion? Yes.
I think this is correct. In paragraph 2, second sentence starts she along with Vice President Messiah. Is that correct?
No. I think somebody wanted to demote me. Yeah, thank you for catching that. Yeah. Param, do you know where it is? Yeah. Okay, great, thank you. Any other corrections? Wonderful. So pending that small correction, all those in favor to accept the minutes from September 19th meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Okay, the minutes pass. Dear Senators, since our last meeting in September, there are several items I think that would be of interest to you. So the first item is our working committee with enrollment management. Recognizing the important role faculty play in student retention and recruitment, the Faculty Senate Executive Committee has initiated discussions with enrollment management to explore opportunities for greater cooperation between critical stakeholders aimed at enhancing our students' experience, including their pivotal first year on campus. To that end, Vice Provost for Academic Programs and Support Services, Jackie Bach, and I will be co-chairing a committee which will also include Danny Barrow from Enrollment Management, Kina Arbuthnot, Vice President and Chief Data Officer, and Brendan Common, who's the Vice President for Student Affairs. The goal is to better understand students' needs and to build on the successes of the preceding few years. We are in the process of scheduling our first meeting, and I will keep you apprised of its progress. PS 21 and graduate student evaluations. The FSEC recently met with Associate Dean of the Pinky Gordon Lane Graduate School, Carol Wicks, to discuss elements of the revised graduate student evaluation process mandated by Policy Statement 21. It was a productive discussion, and we will remain in contact with the graduate school as we pursue a number of avenues for improvement identified at the meeting. Syllabus database. For the past year, the APSEC has been in discussions with representatives from student government regarding their proposed initiative to upgrade LSU's syllabus database to better allow students to navigate classes prior to registration. The students presented examples from other institutions, including the University of Alabama's searchable syllabus database, which they would like to use as a model. There are several questions regarding the creation of such database, including its potential cost, maintenance, and prospective faculty participation. I have invited Calvin Feldt from student government to give an overview of this initiative so that the senators can be better informed about the proposal and get faculty input that can be incorporated in discussions to be held in a joint student government and faculty senate committee, which will be addressing the matter. So stay tuned for later on. We will hear from Calvin. Proposed revision to PS 36. The Office of Academic Affairs has contacted Faculty Senate leadership regarding inconsistencies across campus on the classification of online teaching, with some departments counting it towards service rather than teaching in their annual faculty evaluations. They have provided a proposed revision to PS 36, which they believe would address this issue. For your review, we summarized and forwarded the proposed revised language via email last week, and we will consider this at today's meeting and decide how we would like to proceed. Standing committee elections. According to our bylaws, the membership of 3 of our standing committees, Budget and Planning Advisory Committee, Faculty Adjudication Committee, and Faculty Appeals Board, must be elected by the Faculty Senate. These elections will be held later today, and while we have slates for candidates for each committee nominations, you are welcome to self-nominate or nominate someone from the floor. Finally, the last item is the luncheon with Faculty Senate committee chairs. This luncheon was held on October 3rd, a week later than originally scheduled, as the faculty club had issues with their air conditioning. The luncheon consisted of a dozen committee chairs and some members of the executive committee. Secretary Param Singh gave a brief presentation on the new minutes formatting recommendations discussed at our last Faculty Senate meeting, and I led the presentation on committee's operating procedures, including the open meetings law requirements governing committee meetings. General Counsel Winston DeQueer was also in attendance, and I appreciate his assistance in addressing some important concerns from the chairs. The event was a success, and I hope that we can continue this tradition every fall. We hope that we hope to continue strengthening faculty governance, and please continue keeping us informed with what you hear on campus and any concerns that you may have. We are always stronger together. Thank you so much. Are there any questions about my report? Okay, wonderful. The next agenda item is new business, and there are Faculty Senate Standing Committee elections, Budget and Planning, Faculty Adjudication, and Faculty Appeals Board.
I move that we hold elections for the Budget and Planning Advisory Committee, the Faculty Adjudication Committee, and the Faculty Appeals Board.
Okay, all those in, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Against? Okay, wonderful. So I think we need to pull our next PowerPoint. Great, thank you. Okay, so oh, is it not full screen? Oh, you only know it. All right, So as noted, we have three, we need to elect faculty on each of these three committees. And we've prepared a short presentation because we also recalled that when we were senators, we had no idea what was going on, why we were electing these people, why they were on these committees, and why these committees were even important. So these committees are very important, just like any of our other standing committees. But so we prepared a short PowerPoint to go through each, the charge of each committee, its membership, and the nominees that we have for today. So Budget and Planning Advisory Committee. I'm not going to read everything. This is literally verbatim from our website. And but I just very quickly want to highlight certain things. So Budget and Planning Advisory Committee, one of its charges is to assure an effective role for the faculty on budget and planning processes of the university, to encourage the use of faculty expertise, and to keep Senate informed. Although it's purely advisory, it's an important committee that could, could advocate for better salaries and so on for faculty. So we really, we need promising people who would just stand up for the faculty. Some of the other aspects is to establish study groups and to conduct forums or workshops in order to inform the general faculty or to collect their views when instructed to do so by the Senate. Or it can initiate its own surveys or investigations with the approval of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee. The voting members shall be 8 faculty, 6 elected and 2 appointed, and I will talk about this in just a second. And the terms are for 3 years. This is where we run into a problem with our bylaws. There's inconsistency. Our bylaws that supersede this state that the members of Budget and Planning should be all elected by Faculty Senate. So the Policy Committee will clean this up. They will revise the procedures of this committee and make sure that each committee member is elected. So today, that's why we are following our bylaws, which supersede the committee operating procedures, and we're going to elect the members on this committee. So the current members are Judith Sylvester, the chair, and then you see the rest of the members here listed. So we have 3 openings and we have 3 nominees today: Robert Cook from Science, Dana Hawley from Business, and J. Michael Martinez from Human Sciences and Education. Are there any nominations from the floor? Right. Do we need to close the? Okay, so I will close the nomination period and the elections are over. So Robert Cook, Dana Hawley, and J. Michael Martinez are now elected to Budget and Planning Advisory Committee. Congratulations. We voted, yes. So the next one is a Faculty Adjudication Committee. So the charges include to adhere to the Faculty Adjudication Committee guidelines established by the Faculty Senate Executive Committee and the Vice President and Provost. To hear all complaints of faculty members related to outcomes of salary, promotion, non-reappointment, and tenure decisions believed to be unfair or due to inappropriately applied procedures and allegations of other unfair treatment, unsuitable environments, and so on. I'm not going to read you the rest of it. You can familiarize yourself. I hope you did familiarize yourself coming to the meeting today. But some of the other charges of the committee include decisions whether or not the facts of faculty petition merit a detailed investigation, to accept a complaint or grievance as a grievance and conduct an investigation when it appears to be warranted based upon the information on the situation provided to the committee. So the current members, actually, I'm gonna just actually, let me just summarize what's here. So because we're subject to open meetings laws, before this committee was just a closed committee because of the nature of the cases that they would receive. So unless it's a personnel matter where they have to go to an executive committee, executive session, this committee is open to the public. So that's really the big difference from previous years. What happens is if they take on a case and they investigate, after they finish their investigation, they write a report. The report only goes to the faculty senate president and to the parties involved. Then it's my job as faculty senate president to bring the report to the provost, and we are supposed to honor the findings of the committee. And we had such a case last year, and that happened. So, I really want to thank the adjudication committee members, for some of them are here, so for their hard work. So the matters are confidential on that committee, so it goes without saying. So the current membership is as follows: Blake Howe as chair, and then these are the rest of the members. The membership is of tenured faculty for obvious reasons, and also for 3 years, just like any other committee. So today we have 2 slots open for an adjudication committee, and we have 2 nominees, Jeannie Donaldson from HSS and Mayank Tyagi from engineering. Are there any nominations from the floor? Okay, so nominations are closed, and Jeannie Donaldson and Mayank Tyagi are elected to Faculty Adjudication Committee. Okay, congratulations. Faculty Appeals Board. So some of the charges include to deliberate and make recommendations to the executive vice president and provost when PS 104 dismissal for cause for faculty is initiated against a faculty member. Another charge is to deliberate and make recommendations to executive vice president and provost when a faculty member appeals a non-reappointment decision, or when there's a unit decision to not consider a faculty member request for non-mandatory promotion review. And then to deliberate and make recommendations to the next highest administrator when a faculty member appeals an administrative decision. So this committee is quite large. It consists of 12 to 15 faculty members, a minimum of 12. So today, and again, just like the other committees, the appointment is for 3 years. This is the current membership. Some of you are also serving on the Senate, but as with any of our committees, you do not have to be a senator to serve on standing committees. So this is the current makeup, and we have 4 nominees, actually 5, sorry. Yeah, we have 5 nominees, and we do have 7 openings. We have reached our minimum, so, but I'd like to open the floor for any further nominees from the floor. So just to do what I did before, so the current nominees are Grace Berry from Law Center, Gabriela Lindsay from Libraries, Marcio de Quieros from Engineering, James Sauls from Science, and Chad Zeifried from HSC. If there are no more nominations from the floor, the nominations are closed, and I'd like to congratulate the the nominees stated in front of you. So thank you. Okay, thank you so much. So can we go back to the Oh, I actually skipped the next one. So before Calvin, our next item is the PS 36 language revision. And I'd like to invite Dan Terone to make the presentation. Do I need to make a motion? No, okay. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. On behalf of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee, I move that the Faculty Senate support a revision that inserts the phrase regardless of modality following contributions to the teaching mission in the first sentence of section D.2.A, illustrative examples of teaching contributions in policy statement 36T.
There's a motion on the floor from to insert the phrase regardless of modality following contributions to the teaching mission in the first sentence of section D2A, illustrative examples of teaching contributions in policy statement 36T. So do we need a second or no? Because
so just proceeding to discussion. This motion, if successfully adopted, would result in the following alteration. So the current text in this section of PS 36 is examples of contributions to the teaching mission that are valid and will be recognized depending on the unit include the following. This list is not exhaustive. If the motion passes successfully, then the proposed text would be revised to read, example of contributions to the teaching mission, regardless of modality, which is the new insertion, that are valid and will be recognized depending on the unit, include the following. This list is not exhaustive. The rationale for this motion is that academic affairs came to us and indicated that there were some inconsistencies across campus regarding particularly how online instruction was being evaluated in professional evaluations and annual reviews, P&T reviews, things like this. Some departments are including this under teaching. Some departments have on occasion included this under service. Academic affairs wish to get some clarity on this so that there's more consistency across campus. They proposed making this alteration, and we wanted to bring it to you to get your perspective and feedback. And just so you know the list to which this is referring, these are the examples of teaching listed in the policy statement. Classroom instruction and the conduct of courses on and off the LSU campus, including study abroad, conduct of seminars, critiques, and practica, both on and off campus and at international locations and institutions, direction of independent study, direction of creative and artistic projects, informal student seminars, supervision of students in clinical work, integration of academic service learning into a course, involvement of students in research and publication, both on and off campus and at international locations or institutions, multidisciplinary and interdepartmental teachings, both on and off campus and at international locations or institutions, direction of a thesis or dissertation, articles on pedagogy, redesign of a course or development of a new course, innovation in teaching methods, including instruction that has an impact on the community and community partnerships, instruction that embeds engaged learning into a community environment, contributions to committees and other entities concerned with teaching, curricula, or educational policy, publication of textbooks or other materials relevant for teaching by respected publishing houses, and textbook adoptions at other universities. So this is, once again, the proposal is the insertion of this regardless of modality, which would expand this list to explicitly include teaching modalities such as online. One thing I do wish to indicate is that this motion relates to 36T, because when I put it on the agenda, I just subconsciously put 36T, but this is the same language in 36NT, which applies to non-tenure track faculty. We could, if it is so desired by the Senate, we could amend the motion to add PS 36NT as well. The language is identical in this section of the policy statement. So policy statement 36T and policy statement 36NT are identical in the illustrative examples of teaching, and that is also section 2 or D.2.A. So with that, we will open it up to discussion from the floor. Yes.
So my question is, and I'm sure, sorry. I'm sure you've thought this through
Mhm.
17 zillion times, but are you sure that the wording you're inserting does what you want it to do? Or would it be better to just add one to that non-exhaustive list rather than up at the top where you say anything can, regardless of modality?
I mean, that's an excellent question. I think there are a number of ways we can approach this. One would be the inclusion of this language. There could be an opportunity to revise this language. There could also be an opportunity, as you're suggesting, to change the list. So we are not, and I don't believe Academic Affairs is, although I don't want to speak for them, but from conversations with them, I don't think anyone is so dead set on this language as the silver bullet to address this question that there's no opportunity for revision. But as a starting point, this is why we wanted to sort of put it before the Senate to sort of gauge where people are. If we think there's a better approach, we can certainly amend this as necessary. Or there's any number of ways we can handle it. But certainly there may be other ways to get at it that could be potentially better.
Just to be clear, it's fine with me.
Sure. No, thank you for that. Yes.
I don't like the verbiage of depending on the unit. I think that's where this all got into trouble.
Okay.
I think if you teach online, you're putting in as much effort in the classroom. I cannot believe that was transferred over to service, which we're meant to have almost very little service in our contracts. That I think is breaking university policy, and I'd like that to be investigated as well. But I think that we need to really look at depending on that unit. I don't think there is a depending on the unit. You teach, it counts. It doesn't matter what unit you're working in. So I would suggest that a focus be on depending on the unit as well, including the following. No, if you do any of those below, that is teaching. The university's decided that that's what teaching mission is, not depending on unit. No. Teaching should be universal, and it should be universal standard across the university.
Sure. So if I just may restate your question to make sure I understand correctly, you are in favor of the inclusion, but you have a separate sort of but related question about the current inclusion of depending on the unit.
Yeah, because I think the depending on unit may cancel that out. The way it's written, depending on unit gives carte blanche for a unit go, well, we don't agree.
Sure. So it gives the latitude to the unit that, so there may be still some retained inconsistencies if the unit determines that they have autonomy under the policy statement to sort of determine how they want to even incorporate the language that precedes.
Yeah, and I think that should be eliminated depending on unit, depending on the unit.
Sure. I believe that a revision to strike depending on the unit would be out of order for this meeting because it would go beyond what was published in the agenda. But that could be something we could take up, in another meeting, or if, depending on how we proceed with this, if we were to send this to a committee, we could then put that into the committee charge to look at that about whether we need a more comprehensive restructuring of this language. But excellent point. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Jim Madden from mathematics. I agree with the sentiment, but it's unclear whether or not depending on the unit modifies recognized. It may modify the list, and the list may include. I know, I'm agreeing with your sentiment. Yeah, yeah.
I don't want there to be any service for teaching.
Yes, yes, I think it's. I don't see what. Right. The other thing that my comment is, regardless of modality, so does that include telepathic contributions? So I think that's too vague.
Okay. Other comments? So just yeah, that was their comment. Yes.
I had a question under the examples of teaching.
Yes, sir.
When it says on and off LSU's campus, does the off the LSU campus imply online, or would it be inclusive of online?
That is an excellent question for which I do not have an answer, because presumably one could interpret it sort of any number of different ways. Right. I mean, I guess if you're teaching if you're in your classroom teaching online, right, the course is occurring in virtual space, right, but you're here. So that could be language that could potentially be subject to further revision. Yeah.
Is it possible to add in this meeting to add a bullet point that says online modality? Like if we, I don't know procedurally if we do friendly amendments or not.
So I don't believe, and I'm sort of working off of a somewhat superficial understanding here. I don't believe that the broader part of the policy statement is subject to revision in this meeting because it couldn't reasonably construed as part of the agenda related to this item. So other people may come in and say, hey, it wasn't there, and you've exceeded the authority based on what was there. So I think we can revise what is proposed here. Revisions that go beyond that, I think, would have to occur as a separate agenda item at a later meeting. Or we could add it to this meeting, or we could include it if this were to be referred to a committee. We could put that in there and say, hey, we want you to look at this entire section, and including then, right, the broader question at that point would be, how do we best address the evaluation of online teaching towards, sort of professional obligations within PS36T and potentially PS36NT as well. So I think that would probably be the most accurate way to incorporate that. Sure. So, well, there's a couple ways. We could, if we want to add it to today's meeting, we could do that. Under open meetings laws, we would be required to have unanimous consent to add an agenda item, and we'd have to have a separate public comment period. I don't see that being an issue. If people think that there is interest in addressing this question, but that it goes beyond sort of the scope of what we can accomplish in the Senate, we can have a motion to refer to committee. We can specify the committee to which we would wish this to go, or put together an ad hoc committee, and then tell that committee, hey, we want you to go look at the question here, depending on how it's phrased, and then give them a timeline to report back with recommendations for consideration of the Senate, addressing the question that is at the heart of the language that's proposed here.
So could I move to send the issue, not this vote, but the issue at hand to academic affairs? Because in my opinion, it seems like it's something that needs a little extra looking at to make sure we get it right.
Sure. So we can't, I mean, we can refer it to a Senate committee, but we can also put academic affairs on the Senate committee as ex officio members to get their perspective. So if it sounds like you're interested in offering a motion to refer, so if I may just sort of make a suggestion.
Sure.
I think that if this is the way we wanted to go, that the appropriate way to be that the Senate refers the question of how to incorporate online instruction into PS36T and NT to an ad hoc committee to be composed of, let's say, 5 faculty members and ex officio representation, with the faculty to be determined by the Faculty Senate Executive Committee and the academic affairs to make their own appointments, and ask the committee to make a report with recommendations back to the Senate in the beginning of the spring semester.
I would love to move that. I just don't know how to say it.
All you have to say is I move.
So moved.
All right. Would you like me to conduct the? Yes. All right. Is there a second? All right. Is there any discussion? You may amend the motion. So if anyone doesn't like 5 faculty members, you don't like the timeline, you don't like the question, we can bring any of that up for discussion and amendment. Yes.
So I don't want to make more work for myself, but maybe you ought to go to the policy committee.
So that is an excellent question. We did have that debate. This could be a no. This could be a policy question. The one thing about the policy committee is just knowing the current composition of the policy committee. There's not a lot of folks, so far as I'm aware, of us who teach online. And so I thought it could be good to have some individuals who teach in this modality, because there may be things that are excluded from the list that are unique to online teaching, but currently not included. But that could be a question for the body if you want to take it up. Should we send this to the policy committee, or should we send it to an ad hoc committee? I mean, that's something, if you wanted to make a motion, we could debate, or if you want to just stand pat, I mean, we can stand pat.
However you want to do it. I'll tell you what, I'll, for the sake of discussion, I'll move that we send it to the policy committee.
Okay.
And maybe the policy committee, since it would be inviting outside members from academic affairs, could also invite some subject matter experts on online teaching. Okay.
Is there a second for the motion? Okay, the motion has been seconded. So the motion is to amend the motion to refer to substitute the policy committee for the ad hoc committee. The other conditions of the motion to refer would still be in place. So what we are debating now is whether we want it to go to an ad hoc committee as proposed, or go to the policy committee. Discussion on this question. Okay, hearing no discussion, we shall proceed to a vote. Voting in favor means that the motion to refer will be amended to substitute the policy committee for the ad hoc committee. A motion against would be to leave the original motion as originally stated, meaning that the question would be referred to an ad hoc committee of 5 faculty and ex officio representatives from academic affairs. So all those in favor of amending the original motion to refer to send the question to the policy committee instead of an ad hoc committee, please say aye. All those opposed? Sure.
Paul Matthew, Human Sciences and Education. If it's referred to the Faculty Policy Committee, would that include inviting someone, I guess it would be an ex officio member, to represent, since there's been a statement there were not a lot of people with online teaching experience on the Faculty Policy Committee. Would they be willing to invite someone who is familiar with teaching online, with experience teaching online, to serve as an ex officio member just for the purposes of this motion?
Certainly. So we could either procedurally add that as a direction of the committee, or since the chair of the committee is with us, I'm assuming that John would be open to that, and we may not need to necessarily put that into the motion. But I think it's a great idea, and I think John certainly would. John, you'd be amenable to that? Absolutely. Okay. All right. So in the judgment of the chair, or at least the presiding, the ayes have it. Well, we don't need to. We don't need to. No, unless someone requires it, just because we're going to do a lot of voting and it'll take a lot of time. All right. So sorry, that's okay. So we are now going to revert to the original motion. The original motion is a motion to refer the question of how to incorporate online instruction into PS 36T and PS 36NT. This question will be referred to the policy committee and ask them to come up with some proposals and present them to the Senate in the beginning of the spring semester. Is there any additional discussion on the revised motion to refer? Hearing no further discussion, we will now proceed to a vote on the motion to refer this to the policy committee. A vote in favor, of course, refers this matter to the policy committee. All those in favor of referring to the policy committee, please say aye. Aye. All those against? All right, any abstentions? All right, thank you. The ayes have it. The motion passes. This matter has been referred to the policy committee, and we will expect their report early in the spring term. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Our last item of business today, it's not business, it's presentation. It's a presentation by Calvin Feldt from Student Government on syllabus database, which I mentioned in my report. This is meant to be purely informational. Nothing has been done yet. We've been in discussions. The executive committee has been in discussion with Calvin and the students, as well as academic affairs on how this would work, what it would entail. So we thought this would be a good time to bring this to the faculty senate to inform you about this and any feedback that you may have regarding this as we continue our discussion. So Calvin, thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
Everybody, as they said, I'm Calvin Feldt. I am the chair of academic affairs in the student senate for the coming year. I tend to talk a little fast and ramble on, so if I say something and it gets past you, please feel free to tell me to slow down and repeat it. I'm here to give you a little bit of information on an initiative that we have been working on in the student senate, which is revamping the syllabus database. So for a little bit of background, since some of you may not know, the syllabus database is at its core a repository for storing syllabi online. LSU currently has a syllabus database, but it's very underused and outdated. The ability to filter on it and to search for various syllabi is limited, to say the least, and it's fairly unorganized, as everything is stored in one giant list, and you kind of have to work with the given tools at the moment. As well, as I said, it's very underutilized. I've checked, and there's roughly 20 professors that have used it in the last year and a half or so, or since 2022. So our goal in student government is to hopefully revamp the syllabus database to be more efficient for students to use, more friendly on the front end, and easy to access, as well as to have complete course coverage with every department every course, every section. So for faculty, this specific initiative would mean hopefully very little in the end. Our goal is to have it so that any sort of uploading of the syllabi is as simple as either going to the website and putting it in, or even just sending an email with your syllabi in it. Currently, under the system currently, it's currently that simple as it is. We have it so that the registrar has a contact where you can simply send your syllabi and they will upload it for you. It hasn't been there's been no workload issues as of yet, as again, there's very little adoption. However, we are in discussions to work on handling any sort of workload increase that may come up. But as I said, in the end, there should be not that many extra steps. It should be as simple as sending one email. So as far as implementation, we are very undecided on what we're doing yet, which is why I'm here today to talk to you all. I want to make sure that you're in on the talks as far as where we'd like to go with this initiative. We've singled out two different pathways that we can take, the first one being in-house redesign and the second being third-party services. So as far as the in-house solution, this would take the form of simply remodeling what we have currently and making it more accessible to students. As I said, right now, the functionality is very limited and it's a bit hard to manage the syllabi. If we got to the point that, as I said, every course was being uploaded to the database, it would be almost unnavigable. So the pros to this are that it would be a quick turnaround. I think that it would be as simple as adding a few new queries, redoing the front end, and voila. I have a background in computer science. This is something that I specialize in. So I can say that I think it should be fairly simple to remodel from a functional standpoint. Additionally, this would have a low cost increase. I think that the majority of increased cost would just come from having a student worker, preferably uploading the syllabi if they're sent to the email, as I mentioned. And as I said, this is as simple as sending an email with your syllabi. We are modeling our preferred syllabus database off of the University of Alabama's old system. They just this semester moved to a new system, which I will be showing you in a minute. But this is what they had in-house at Alabama. As you can see, it's fairly simple and intuitive. You can filter by college, filter by department, and filter by the core designation. I did computer science because that's what I do. But as you can see, it's very intuitive and it has every course that they have listed by instructor over here and title. We're looking to implement something similar to this. It's not super different from what we have now, but it is a lot nicer for the students to work with, and it provides a lot more organization and filtering. Now, the other solution, which is something that is more abstract at the moment, but I can certainly give you information as I have it, is going through third-party solutions. The primary one that we've been looking at is the simple syllabus, which is essentially a complete remodeling of the way that we handle syllabuses at the university. If we went through something like this, then it would be a much more drastic change. However, I do believe that it offers things that professors would greatly appreciate, such as more standardization as far as syllabi go, automatic updates to any sort of standardized policies that you have to include in your syllabi. It would automatically be uploaded to a syllabus database, so there's literally nothing extra you would have to do to make it available to students. And a variety of other features, which I believe I have on the next slide. One that I believe you might also prefer is I've heard that some professors worry about students not reading the syllabi and not actually looking at what the courses are like. And this is kind of a point of contention for us, as why would you want to make the syllabi available if your students aren't even reading them in the first place? Well, the good news is that these platforms do provide metrics, and you can check how much your syllabi have been read, when they've last been accessed, and at least with simple syllabus, you can see each individual student's access to the syllabi. So if they come to you with a question that is on the syllabus, you can say, you haven't read the syllabus. I know that many of you like to say that, so putting that out there. So these are a few of the features from Simple Syllabus. I attended their online webinar for another university where they were implementing the system, and I was very impressed by the features. I can certainly answer any questions you may have. I'll have a little section in a moment where I can answer any questions, but these are some of the things that you might find important. Particularly faculty IP. This is a point that was brought up to us many times in discussions. Some professors have certain things on their syllabus that they do not want visible by the entire university. Certain things that were mentioned were projects that could turn into research projects in the future. And the good news is that with simple syllabus, and I believe the other options we've looked at, you have the option to take individual sections of the syllabus and make them only visible to certain groups of people. So if you want only your students within that are registered into this course to view your projects in particular, you can set it that way. Whereas everything else that's more general and just general course structure, you can make public. There's also various other things that students would also find nice, which are mobile optimization. That's something that a lot of students have mentioned, but there's not a great way to do that when everything is put up in a PDF. And you can see the various other things like saving time, whatnot. So that's all I have as far as the slides. If you have any questions for me or want to get in contact about this initiative, I have my email up here. There's also a Google form and a QR code if you'd like to leave any sort of feedback or have any issues that you'd like to mention anonymously. I am not worried about taking any specific opinions as of right now. You can simply put it in there and let us know. You don't have to make an actual opinionated statement to us. That would be good for debate whenever we present an actual resolution. But if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask, I am more than open to answering. Do I have the...
Hi, excellent idea. I see this has a great investment return potential. My office is next to the academic coordinator of my department. And I oftentimes I can see her on the long phone call with a student reaching out, asking her to introduce each courses in our program. So we are in the master program, graduate program. So I see if we have a centralized syllabus database, the academic coordinator could simply direct the student to that website, and so that they can explore and they can have a direct access to all the courses, so that she would not have to spend long time introducing each courses. And in my field, our professional organization, we have established a data set, a syllabus data set database for universities in the US, and so we can sometimes log in and check up on each other's other professors' syllabus to help us design and improve the design of our courses. So I do see this has a great potential, and will benefit not only professors but students, recruitment of students.
So that first point that you mentioned is one of the biggest reasons that students are pushing for this, is the ability to look through courses and see their contents beyond just the course description. For me personally, I've been emailing professors before the semester, before scheduling, to try and get an idea of what the class is like, to really gauge what the projects, how project heavy it is, how essay heavy it is, because in computer science, many of our classes are project oriented. And so I wanted to try and avoid a situation where I've got 4 classes where I have semester long projects that I have to work on. So that's a little hard to manage, but it's something that we find very important, being able to just look at the course structure beforehand. And as of right now, there's no easy way to do that without taking up professors' times and emailing them individually to try and get course syllabi.
Yeah, one advice I may have is maybe you should reach out to the academic coordinator in each department, instead of reaching to the thousands of individual professors and asking them to submit their syllabus. It might be more streamlined if you ask the academic staff, and they collect the syllabus from all the faculty in the department and then upload to the whatever server we have. So that will make the whole management more streamlined.
Yes, I believe that in our meetings with the Faculty Senate Executive Committee, Dr. Tyrone mentioned that his department does something similar, where they send all their syllabi to the department head. I'm not sure what the purpose was for, but they do have all that collected, and that could be an avenue as well. And the good news is that with the syllabus system that I mentioned from a third-party service, Simple Syllabus, it would be automatic to the point that you don't have to send it anywhere. When you update the syllabus on the website where it's stored, it's automatically changed for everybody else.
That's wonderful. Yeah, our department did the same thing. I submitted my syllabus, but I don't know what the department uses.
Thank you.
As a bridging thing, you guys may want to do this, and I wish this was done more. We use Moodle, and I know you know Moodle very well. Students know it, faculty know it. We post our syllabus on Moodle, so it's always the most up to date. If you guys can start writing codes to get into there, that then I think can actually help with the bridge with another issue we have where start of each semester, we get asked to report on students. And if you have an introductory class of 250 students, you're reporting on every single one of those students, where if you could basically tap into Moodle, not students, but the administration, here's your grade book, tell us a cutoff you want us to report on, where that takes a lot of weight off of us. I think that the Moodle needs to be leveraged a lot more. If this could be interfaced with Moodle, that would be so much better for everybody. And I wish there's a lot more, because for us, we're going to have to put up on Moodle, then we're going to have to do this, then we're going to have to do something else. I want to do it once, that's it. And you answered one of my questions, like, well, why can't course descriptions answer all your questions? But maybe you would like to have a little more, a short one, course description with how many projects or something. What do students want from the syllabus? We'd like to know as well, because we basically write these syllabi and we're making our best effort, but we'd like to know what students would like to know in them. And then we'll put that up at the front. Then we put all the other technical stuff in the back that we have to put in there.
So firstly, I'll address the Moodle integration. You'll be happy to hear that with the simple syllabus, it is integrated with Moodle. So where you would normally put your syllabus in a section on its own, they can do the same thing where it links to their website within Moodle. You don't have to leave the site. It is visible right in there. So in this instance, again, you update your syllabi, it's automatically uploaded at that link. It's automatically updated at the syllabus or like the database link. It's updated everywhere. All you have to do is change it and it is taken care of. Now, as far as the content in syllabi, I will not go too into depth as to what students want to see. Personally, I don't think that there is much we have wrong with, or much we have against any of the current syllabi. Again, the issue here is that we can't see the syllabi most of the time without having to send emails to professors to get them from them before the course starts. What's actually in the syllabi is not currently an issue to my knowledge on the student side of things. At least me personally, I am content with what we see in the syllabi. There's the course structure, there's percentages as to what each assignment is. There's most of the time some sort of schedule as to when things are coming. And I believe that that's fairly comprehensive in itself. There's usually a description of the course as well. Again, I won't be able to go over everything, but I don't believe that there's any sort of discontent amongst the students as to the contents of the syllabi.
I had a comment. I think it's a great idea, but I have some concerns. One is, I think syllabi are pretty heterogeneous in terms of the structure. So I could envision a situation arising where then there's pressure to uniformize the syllabi. All right. I mean, I don't know where it would arise from. Somebody someday would have the bright idea, all syllabi should look like such, or should have such and such features. And then the demand arises for that, which might not be a bad thing. So that was one concern. Second concern has to do with integrating this utility with other utilities. So I think there's a problem with the software that we use for administrative purposes or for a lot of routine things around campus where, and this includes Moodle, of course, there are solutions to everybody's problem in the software. And as a consequence, you can't find your way through the solutions. So when we talk about linking this piece of software with Moodle, right? Well, that would be a great idea in the abstract. But when we are talking about integrating different pieces of software to achieve sort of local goals, well, this clashes with the ability of people to navigate or globally or to to be able to move through the software easily. I think this is a bigger problem than, I mean, maybe I'm taking I'm beginning to feel self-conscious because I don't want to distract from what you're talking about. And so I'm going to cut myself off right here because what you're speaking of is, of course, the center of attention here.
Thank you.
Hi. I think that there's some definitely positives to this. And I just really want to iterate that as you continue to possibly garner support from faculty, and I think a lot of my colleagues have made this clear. I think it's very important to consider the infrastructure change that will have to happen, because it won't be as simple as an email. When there's 1,500 of us who teach 5 to 9 different courses, it won't be that unless there's an infrastructure built up on the other side. And I think you're already starting to really address those things with these third parties. But I think, we definitely, I think it's a positive thing to have access to this information, but I think it's really important that, again, there isn't like a 3 different times we send the syllabi. I think also, and of course, I'm sure you can answer this for me, but syllabi also change. Some event happens, something happens, the calendar has to change, expectations have to change. And so, the second part is, how often would we then have to update within the system that the syllabus was updated? And, there's just, I think, some more things that could happen throughout the 15 weeks of a semester. But again, I think there's a lot of positives. I just would be ready for that change of infrastructure. How would we address that? Do we have the people to support that, and the funds to support that as well? Yeah.
I appreciate your feedback. That's definitely something that we're considering in our talks. As far as the updates, I will say on the in-house solution side of things, that's something that's undecided. So I do appreciate your feedback on that. And from the simple syllabus side of things, as I said, once it's updated on the website, it's updated everywhere. So that would be pretty much automatic for faculty as well.
Sorry if I missed this, but are either of those systems publicly accessible, or they're all within the university only?
The Alabama's in-house solution is currently publicly accessible. However, again, as I mentioned, they recently moved to the simple syllabus platform this semester. That is not accessible. That is behind an Alabama email. As far as LSU, currently our syllabus database is also behind an LSU email. So that is not publicly accessible.
And how does it work for recruitment if it's through an LSU?
Recruitment? I'm sorry.
Recruitment, yeah.
As in bringing in students?
Mm-hmm.
That was not something I peddled, so I will not claim to be able to speak to that.
I just might mention one negative to using an external vendor is if we switch, we would have to, all the faculty might have to re-implement all their syllabi or something like that. And we've seen that with, for example, faculty reports, that you end up doing a lot of data entry and it's very frustrating. So one is, do faculty have to use it if they're required to use it? And second is, using a vendor has negatives too, right? And you have some sort of contract, I guess, and maybe it gets too expensive. And the question is, do we still want to pay or not, right? So it's worth thinking about if the data itself is portable, if they facilitate transferring it to some other format.
I appreciate that feedback. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I would strongly encourage a lot of patience on this. I think you being here and talking to us is evidence that you want to do it correctly, but I think taking a lot of patience and really thinking this through, because there's lots of other issues that also occur with this. For example, how long are you going to store each syllabus? Because like I teach in an applied field where they need my syllabus when they want to go for a license in a different state. That happens often, and about 2 times a year I get an email from somebody that says, send me my syllabus. Second, what do you all think of in terms of how often we have to update certain things in a repository? Like I teach in an applied field that has an accreditation. What happens? My syllabus does not change. I am bound by certain assignments and topics. What happens in the classroom and how I approach it changes, but not what happens on the syllabus. So how often am I going to have to do that? How often am I how often are you guys envisioning this? Because like, I think I know what I'm teaching in the spring, but that can change very quickly based on what happens, you know, between now and then. So I think I'd really encourage y'all to take a lot of patience in how you plan on doing this. Similarly, I'm very uncomfortable giving it to a third party because then my data is even more out there. And I already know that I lose some ownership of some of my materials because, you know, of how things are. I am also very hesitant giving a third party extra data that, you know, I don't know, I don't have any control of how they're going to use. Not that I have much control now, but still. So again, I'd really encourage a lot of patience in this and not looking for a solution that's going to get it now, but doing it properly.
I can say that this has been on our agenda for at least a year, very much more so than that. It's been here since I got into Senate. It's been here since before my predecessors got into Senate. It's been on our agenda for a long time, and we've had discussions for years at this point. As far as I'm trying to remember what the first thing you went over was. I'm sorry, I lost that. Mhm.
So it's just also something well, give you insight.
So there is I would call it understood, but there's also a disclaimer on the syllabus database currently that we intend to keep as a reminder to students. The way that the course is listed in the syllabus that you're looking at from the semester before, a couple semesters before, however long before, is subject to change for future semesters. It is not, by no means necessarily means that it will be the same for coming semesters. So there's no binding nature to this movement. As far as how long it will be archived, I think the ideal is that it's kept up there with no necessary expiration date. However, if there are objections to that, I'm very much open to hearing them in discussions, as that would be the first time I've heard them. So very much so, I would appreciate any feedback.
Oh, there's one more. Yeah, sorry.
No, I almost gave up. I think most of the things which I had are covered, but how about to start with, every faculty keeps the syllabus on their own web page and gives the link, and you can make a database of links of those things with description of the course, and then just the link directly to the faculty's web page. So that in that sense, we can update it. We can do whatever we want to do with it. So it's still you're only having the link to it. So it makes our lives easy.
I would have to discuss that, of course, with the people I'm working with this on. However, that sounds feasible. I am a little concerned about the nature of links changing. Again, I'm in computer science. I know that any sort of change to any sort of thing can lead to things changing, and then you have to make sure that the correct link is where it's supposed to be. You have to make sure that you're updating the link. It might lead to more trouble than you're expecting. But again, I'm sure that the same thing can be said about any of the solutions I just mentioned. So I completely understand, but I do believe that that is a possibility, and I will make sure to mention that with my committee. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Calvin, thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions and suggestions, please contact Calvin, and you can always email me or the faculty senate at lsu.edu, and we'll make sure we'll get in touch with Calvin and let him know your suggestions. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you so much. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye. Okay, see you on November 2nd. Right.